Well, it happened again. Bad shooting, bad defense, bad result in a game 2 for the Boston Celtics. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster brand, it's holiday season. Drop Drew in the mix, and 3 from KP. No, we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Deuce, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in Locked On after. Karalis on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and J's, how we started raising banners, how we finish. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I got you covered every day, Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts on the weekends when the Celtics play, when it's required. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Watch a show on YouTube. If you're new to the show, I'm John Karalis. Used to play a long time ago. Now I'm covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. Today, talking about the Celtics' 118-94 loss, blowout loss at home in Game 2 of the playoffs. Later on, I'll tell you if there's any concerns here for Game 3. We'll get into just the flow of the game and all of that, and just, hey, it happened again. The Celtics team just once again cannot make things easy, cannot make things smooth. So, all right, let's talk about it. First, today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/lockdownnba. Use the code LOCKDOWNNBA, all lowercase, for a first deposit match of up to $100. I want to, first of all, people have been asking me about the live stream. I do a live stream. Started doing a live stream after the Celtics games, after Celtics wins, because after the Celtics win, there's like 10 extra minutes between when the game ends and when Joe Mazzulla talks, because they have post-game on the floor, post-game interviews for, like, they grab a player and he does the radio, and they grab a player and he does TV. And by the time they do all of that stuff, it's like an extra 10 minutes or so where I can fire up the live stream, do a little thing. I am not avoiding live streams after losses. It's just that 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes that I would be doing the live stream doesn't exist when the Celtics lose, because they don't do any of those interviews. They go right back into the locker room and Joe Mazzulla comes right out and talks. So that's why that changes. But not that anybody really wanted to hear what I was going to say after this loss. Look, the bottom line is it happened again. It's the same thing. It really was the same kind of situation as Game 2 against Miami. It's just that Cleveland is a different animal. They're just a different team than Miami. So when the Celtics started doing the same things, it hurt them in a different way. It didn't look the same, but it kind of, what caused it was the same. And so they came out and they played great to start. It's important to recognize that the Celtics came out and played great right away. And it started to feel like a lot like Game 1, actually, where the Celtics came out and stormed out to a big lead, and it looked fine. I was like, oh, here we go. And I think the Celtics felt the same way, because 5 minutes into the game, everything felt good. The Celtics were on their way to another win. They looked just as good as they did in Game 1. The Cavs looked just as bad as they did in Game 1. They call a timeout. Okay, they come out of the timeout and they make a little bit of a run. They even took the exact same lead, 23-22, in the first quarter. And I was like, wow, I cannot believe how closely this was mirroring Game 1, to the point where Jayson Tatum drew 2 early fouls, one on Isaac Okoro, one on Evan Mobley, in order, Okoro and then Mobley. And it was the exact same flow as Jaylen Brown drew a foul on Okoro and drew a foul on Mobley in Game 1. I was like, oh my God, this is following literally the exact same script, until 23-22 Cleveland. And then Cleveland started to pull away a little bit in the first quarter. You're like, oh, okay. Now we're deviating from the script. And the Celtics never quite got on track offensively. They started to fall into some of the same kind of things that Miami was doing. They fell into the trap of going against like matchup hunting and going slow, right? They were matchup hunting and not doing it in a way that was, when I talked about like attacking quickly, and there are so many mismatches all over the floor that you can attack this one and get to the next one, and it doesn't matter who you have in front of you. But it seemed like Tatum and Brown really went I'm going after this guy in front of me. And Tatum had 6 assists, but it still felt like he was going a little too one-on-one sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. So it felt like the Celtics got a little too bogged down in what the Cavs were throwing at them. And meanwhile, defensively, the Cavs were just getting everywhere they wanted. So it just started to pile up. The first half, I think, was, well, first of all, the first half ended up tied. And so you thought, okay, get into the halftime, make your adjustments, come out, make a run, and start to pile it up, and you'll be okay. But it was the Cavs that made a run. And the first half, I think, was a missed opportunity because Donovan Mitchell was only 2 of 6 points. He did have 5 assists, but just 6 points, 15 points in the first half for Evan Mobley. So they got something out of him. They got 12 points out of Karis LeVert. So they got something off the bench. So all of that stuff that they weren't getting in game 1, they were getting in game 2, but Mitchell wasn't stepping up, and Okoro didn't do anything, and Strus didn't do anything. So it's like a little bit of a reverse there. And I compared it to the Simpsons, where it's the Marge, the pretzel lady, pretzel wagon, and at the end, the Yakuza comes in, and the leader of the Yakuza is just standing there, and Marge says, "Let's go inside." And Homer's like, "No, but that little guy hasn't done anything yet, and when he does something, it's going to be good." That was Donovan Mitchell at halftime. We're like, that little guy hasn't done anything yet, and when he does, it's going to be good. And it was good. He was great in the second half. He was great in the third quarter, where he erupted, 16 points, 5 of 9 shooting, 4 of 5 from 3 in the third quarter. He tacked on 7 more in the fourth quarter. So his second half was 23 points, 8 of 13 shooting, 5 of 6 from 3. Second half, things got away from the Celtics. They lost the second half 64-40. So bad defense, giving up 64 points on 57% shooting, 55.5% from 3. Bad shooting on their part. They only shot 2 of 18 from 3. They only scored 40 points. The 24-point difference in this game was entirely 3-pointers. 10 of 18 for Cleveland, 2 of 18 for Boston, 8 3-pointers difference. 8 times 3 is 24. That's the difference in the second half. So Cleveland outscored Boston by 24 from 3, and there it is, 24-point second half. And that's where, like, it wasn't as simple as that, but they got hot from 3 in the second half. Boston didn't, and it just impacted everything. The Celtics couldn't set their defense. The Celtics were, falling into the trap, the 2-pointer trap, where they could have taken, they split evenly, 18 threes, 18 twos. They made 11 of 18 from 2, which is a great percentage. And you think, well, keep doing that. But the Cavs were making threes. It was 10 of 18 from, you're not going to win trading 2s for 3s. And the Celtics didn't trade anything really because they made 12 fewer shots. So it was overall, you could chalk it up to they shot poorly. It affected them, the other side, and they couldn't pull it out. Same as game 2 against Miami. And now we look forward and say, are there any concerns here? There might be, but let's talk a little bit more first about that bad defense, that bad shooting. Do that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. March is over. We're in May now. So the biggest moments in basketball are all on the NBA court. So go ahead and have some fun. And the playoff action, you can make up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as these NBA playoffs roll through. 100 times your money with as few as 4 correct picks. How Prize Picks works is they set the number, whether it's Tatum points. Let's just say Tatum 24 points. You put more or less. If you get it right, you win. You win enough times, you can increase how much money you win. So you pick the right numbers with the right selections here, and you can turn $10 into $1,000 on any sport, anything you have, anything you want there that's on Prize Picks. Pick more or less. It's super simple, easy gameplay, enormous selection of players and stat types. That's what makes Prize Picks the #1 fantasy app. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You're going to get a first deposit match of up to $100. So go ahead and do that. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You get a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Today's show also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your #1 ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports today. Streaming 24/7 on YouTube, 24/7 on the Amazon Fire TV Channels app. All the great shows from across the network. The national shows like this one. This one makes it on there all the time because it's a big national story. The Celtics are big national news because they're in the playoffs, especially after this loss. People are going to want to know about that. So check it out. Streaming 24/7 on YouTube and on the Amazon Fire TV Channels app. Okay. Celtics bad defense. This is like a chicken and egg thing. This is the bad defense and the bad start with, because they shot poorly. They shoot poorly. They get back on they can't get back on defense, and they give up baskets and it just goes that way? Or is it they give up or their bad defense allows the Cavs to score and they get back to set their defense and you have trouble against a set defense? And honestly, the answer is a little bit of both. The Celtics missed a bunch of layups, missed a bunch of shots in the paint. And even though they ended up with, what was it? 5 turnovers, they might as well have had a bunch more. They could have had 5 more just on missed layups. When you miss layups, it might as well be a turnover because those turn into transition opportunities for the other team. Because look, you go up for the layup, your momentum's taking you to the basket, you miss, you either end up in the stanchion, in the front row, on the floor, you're turning to the refs, you're complaining, and it's a 5-on-4 the other way. It's hard to stop another team when you're going in for the 2-pointers, you're going in for the layups, you're attacking the rim. You got to finish. You got to finish those layups. People don't like to talk about what happens when you miss layups because you're getting the layup, right? No one really thinks about the missed layups, right? You just think, oh, we got the layup and it's fine. Like you're attacking the basket. And if you miss a couple, you miss a couple. It doesn't matter. The missed layup is one of the most damaging things in a basketball game because of what happens next. At least with a missed three-pointer, yeah, there are long rebounds, but guys can get back. Missed layups are damaging because it's a 5-on-4 opportunity most times. And you're giving up this transition. It's a momentum swing. You think you have this shot, you miss it, you get frustrated, you hang your head, whatever. Now it's a 5-on-4 the other way. If you haven't gotten back fast enough, they take the advantage. And that means your teammates are scrambling, your teammates are in rotation, cross-matched, and maybe it ends up as a layup on the other end. It's a cliche. You've heard commentators say it. How often have you seen miss a layup on one end, you give it up on the other end? I remember that phrase from, for years since I started watching the NBA. And it makes you wonder, like, how many people, like, how has that not become like, how do you fix that? Right? When somebody drives, you got to have somebody rotating back. And like when you miss a layup, you got to bust your butt back down the floor. But Celtics, not only did they not make a lot of 3-pointers, they took 35, which is about, I would say, 10 less than they're used to taking, 7 to 10 less than they're used to taking. And that's the volume of 3-pointers. Even when you're not shooting well, has to stay consistent. Like you can't sit there and say, oh, well, at least they attacked the basket, so I'm happier with the shot selection. Missing those layups leads to those opportunities that the Cavs took advantage of. And when you miss shots in general, not only can you not get back and set your defense, you saw the guys like slump their heads like, oh, guy frustrated. And the bad defense definitely led to, or the bad shooting definitely led to the bad defense. And the problem here is the Celtics, you go back to October, and I pulled this quote out for a story on Boston Sports Journal, where Joe Mazzulla said, look, we've won the 3-point margins, but we lost the shot margins in the past, and we've got to fix that. What happens when we don't shoot well? Back in training camp, they were talking about what happens when we don't shoot well. How do we win when we don't shoot well? You can't have it where, all right, you've shot 23% from 3 and they shot 46.5%. All right, 8 3-pointers to 13 3-pointers. So you lost that battle by 15. How can you make up those 15 points? Well, some of it is at the free throw line. So they're +4 at the free throw line. Now you got to find other ways, putbacks, second chance points. You have to now win the field goal attempts battle. That margin, you have to win that. And the Celtics, 80 field goal attempts to the 86 from the Cavs. All right, now look, it's not as bad. The Celtics took 24 free throws. Some of those were penalty free throws, but some of those were on shots. So it was a little bit closer than it looked, but still, they did not win that battle. You have to, if you find yourself not shooting well, and it's early on, you're like, God, these shots aren't falling. You cannot sit there and think, well, the shots will fall eventually, because there's no guarantee. In fact, Derek White had a 1 of 8 game. After a 7 of 12 game, he had a 1 of 8 game. You can't say, well, we'll start hitting these shots eventually in this game. You'll probably start hitting them eventually in the series, but you can't just say we'll eventually hit them, because you didn't. You have to go do the other things. And the biggest issue for the Celtics was they didn't do those other little things. They didn't get uh the offensive rebounds. They had 6 offensive rebounds. That's not enough. Against the Cavs team that's notorious for giving up offensive rebounds. You got to go and crack. You got to find a way. You got to get more steals. You got to get more deflections. If you're missing shots, the reaction shouldn't be slump your head. It should be run back and make up for it on the other end. They're having the wrong reaction. You got to go back the other end and be like, we got to get this ball back, because if you're shooting in the low 30s and eventually it trickled down into the 20s, you have to win the field goal attempts battle. You have to find a way to get the steals, the deflections, and the second chances so you can have the math work out for you, so you can put up enough shots where the volume makes up for the misses, right? Like if you're shooting 40%, well, 40% of 100 is 40 makes. They shot 55% and made 47. So you gotta get to more shots when you're not making them. You've got to take more of them so the volume makes up for what you're missing. And that means playing twice as hard as defense on defense rather than half as hard on defense. And that's where they screwed this up. They played half as hard on defense when they miss. You got to play twice as hard on defense to get those shots, to prevent them from getting shots. So you hold them to 80 and you get up to 90, 95, whatever it is. And maybe by the end, you hit 2, 3, 4 in a row, and boom, there's your difference. All of a sudden, now it's a close game. Maybe you steal one. So the Celtics didn't have that thing, that heart, that oomph, that something to go take this, to go find a way to win this. So that leads me to concerns for game 3 and concerns moving forward. We'll talk about that in just a second. I'm calling this timeout to talk about Monopoly Go. And you might say, John, you're out of timeouts to talk about Monopoly Go. So that's a technical foul. Tough. I'm going to still talk about it. And obviously, you know what Monopoly Go is because people have texted me, have tweeted me, talking about how addictive this game is. We know Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for time tournaments where you can build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome the prizes you unlock. You get things like unique stickers to trade with your friends, to complete albums for big prizes, playing pieces to travel the boards with. Those are super cool. Hilarious emojis. You can taunt your friends and smash their buildings and heist their vaults. I love that entire sentence. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events to help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover on Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it now for free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. All right. Concerns moving forward. Do I have concerns moving forward? Yes and no. I'm not concerned that the Celtics are going to lose this series. I said Celtics in 5. I accounted for one of these games, and this is it. Even though I kind of knew a game like this was coming somewhere along the way, I didn't expect it again in game 2. I thought it would happen on the road. Okay, fine. So I still think the Celtics are going to go and probably do the same thing they did in the Miami series, right? Go to Cleveland, boom, boom, win a couple of big games, come back home, close it out at home, be done with it. But I am concerned about the way they repeat certain mistakes. I am concerned that we're here in the second round of the playoffs and we got a game where they didn't show that heart. They didn't show that I don't know, that fight to power through a bad shooting night. And it stands out in stark contrast to other games, other players, other performances in the playoffs, because you've got like, and this isn't, I'll just say it this way. You got the New York Knicks who are out there losing guys left and right. Guys are playing 48 minutes and they're not always hitting shots, but they're out there busting their butts and they just continue to win. And they find these ways to hit huge shots, even when shots weren't falling before. They find ways to hit huge shots. Donovan Mitchell had a bad first half. He's just been going crazy. He's been an amazing playoff performer. Anthony Edwards has been an amazing playoff performer. You get these guys all over the place in the playoffs stepping up and having these moments where you're like, oh my God, these guys can't miss. These guys are just playing like crazy, playing amazing. And for the Celtics to kind of have these games where it's like, yeah, I know I said this felt like regular season, and it definitely felt like regular season. Like there's still no juice in that building. And I'm not blaming fans or anything like that. I think everybody just expects the Celtics to win and be fine. And it's up to the Celtics to go out there and win and be fine. But it didn't seem like they were treating this like a playoff game. They're just treating it like a regular old game. Let's go play this game and let's see what happens. And I don't know, like, the urgency needs to be there. And I'm not one to say like, like I don't care necessarily. Like this doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me that they are going to win this, I think, in 5, because I said Celtics in 5. And you can't expect a sweep. That's ridiculous. You cannot expect a sweep. I can say I think they'll sweep, but sweeps are hard, and this is the second round. So that team had to win a playoff series, and there's a reason why they won a playoff series, because Donovan Mitchell is amazing, and they have guys who can score. They have guys who can get hot. But it's not even that they lost. I don't care that they lost, but I do care that it's like, why did you seem to like slow down in the second half? The shots didn't fall at the beginning of the second half. And Al Horford after the game was like, no, I felt like we were still there. Felt like still good. And they were still within striking distance, but they came out missing in the second half. They just didn't come out with that. They didn't come out being like, all right, you know what? We're imposing our will on this game. And it doesn't have to be Tatum. It doesn't have to be Brown, but as a collective team, that was a great opportunity to flip the energy, and they didn't do it. Peyton Pritchard had a good game. Peyton Pritchard was good, and he in the second half was really trying to bring the energy and change the energy. And he was playing fast, and he was playing great. He hit a 3. He had got into the lane. He hit a layup. This is like third quarter, fourth quarter. I forget what, third quarter, I think. He was trying to change the energy, and he couldn't. And if Peyton Pritchard can't change the energy, that tells you something. That's where it doesn't sit well with me. The fact that they were like, all right, it's not happening for us tonight. Like, I don't expect you to win. Jayson Tatum after the game was like, people expect us to win every game by 25. Like, no, I don't expect you to win every game by 25. I expect you to try to win every game by 25. That's the difference. I don't expect it to happen all the time. I expect you to try to do it all the time. And it's not to say that they didn't for most of this game, but they didn't have that level of desperation in this game. They didn't have that level of, hey, you know what? The Cavs are down 1-0, and I can sit there and say they look like they're dead. They look like their season is ready to be over. But the Celtics can't do that. The Celtics have to go in there and be like, the Cavs are going to hit us with everything, because if they go down 2-0, then they know they can't beat us in, four out of 5 games. That's just almost impossible. And the Cavs are sitting there watching the Knicks game, and fans are chanting, "We want Boston." And I'm sure the Cavs are like, "Well, wait a second. What do you mean we want Boston? It's only 1-0. They won a home game. So what?" So I don't know. It's that every once in a while, this lack of urgency, and you're like, man, God, these still, and I fully expect them to bounce back. So it's not a big deal necessarily. I expect them to go and win the next 3 games and probably win it easily. But it just never fails. Whenever things look their most comfortable, the Celtics are going to lose. It doesn't matter the situation. It doesn't matter if it's the playoffs. Whenever they have things that seems like it's the most comfortable, people expect the Celtics to lose. I saw national people on Twitter saying, the Celtics are Celticsing. This is what they do. And they just don't do it as badly this year. It only lasts 1 game rather than 2 or 3. I don't care that they lose. If this series goes 6 or 7 and they play hard and they lose 2 more games, all right, fine. You lose. That's going to happen. As Joe Mazzulla says, I can't expect a series to go a certain way. And like, I can sit there and say, I think it's going to be this. But if it doesn't go that way, I can't be like, oh my God, it's like I just got to adjust. Like, I've got to read it and adjust and be like, okay, it's going a different way than I thought. Let's just roll with it. If the Celtics are playing good basketball and the Cavs just beat them, hey, all right, congratulations to you. Now we're looking at adjustments. Now we're looking at how did that happen, and let's see how they can fix that. We'll dive into that. Nice, meaty playoff series. I love it. But if you're going to play like that with that lack of urgency, like, yeah, of course you're going to lose a playoff game. Of course you're going to lose. So is it a concern for game 3? No. I think they're going to come out and blast them in game 3. The Cavs might not win a quarter the rest of the way. That's how good I think the Celtics can be. And that they might just be like, oh, all right, we had our one little slip. Let's just be done with this. It's just that they seem okay with the one little slip sometimes, or too many guys seem okay with it. So we'll see. I'm headed to Cleveland. So Celtics fans who are there, I'll see you there. If you are there and you see me, come say hi. I love meeting all of you. So especially Celtics fans in other states, other places. So come say hi. I hope to meet you. Let me know if you're an everydayer. Become a subscriber if you're not. Wherever you get your podcast, whatever your favorite podcasting app is, or watch it on YouTube. Get in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this game, about what I've said. And I would love it if you share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.